Hi, Gabriel. Can you still hear me? Almond?
Yep, yes, I am. We're admitting in a few. Well, a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely afternoon. Thank you all for making time to join this very wonderful session. My name is Gabriel Achaye, and we are quite elated on behalf of the East Africa Law Society seated here in Arusha, Tanzania, host you once again for our very first webinar session of 2026. And allow me to say Happy New Year, and hope you have all been keeping well and safe. And on behalf of the Secretariat, our dear, beloved President, Mr. Ramadan Abubekar, our CEO, Mr. David Sigano, we would like to welcome you all to this very wonderful session. And what can we say? We could not have chosen a much better topic to start the year than this very timely topic that is a masterclass on the AI-ready lawyer. And today, basically, we are dispelling practical Gen AI skills for us lawyers in East Africa. And this afternoon, friends, it's not about trends, it's not about hype, it's not about shortcuts. It's about how we are practicing law right now and how we legal professionals are choosing to respond to the reality. Last year, we had how AI is affecting drafting, on how AI is affecting family law practice, criminal law practice, etc. You can all attest to the fact now that AI is already shaping or has already shaped these different spheres of legal practice. And the real question now lies for us is not whether AI exists or not whether it's affecting our profession or not. But the question is whether we are using AI competently, safely, and ethically to advance access to justice and rule of law wherever we may be. And of course, we have convened this masterclass in partnership with Enablify AI, who are our partners, and we'll be rolling out a physical masterclass in the month of March 2026 in the beautiful capital of Nairobi. So you want to join that masterclass. But for today, we would like to have this discussion as a precursor to the bigger discussion. Why? Because we want to make you, our members, AI ready and not AI dependence. We want you to be technologically capable of handling different matters that fall within your spheres. And above all, friends, we want you to be future facing without compromising, of course, standards that govern our practice on a day to day. So today's session will be practical, it will be grounded and immediately usable. We are not fluffing around today. We are not giving you an overload of theory. It's just tools, frameworks, and professional judgments that you can apply at this instant. So before we begin, please feel free to type in the chat that one legal task that you wish AI could reliably handle for you. And my facilitator here will advise accordingly how that can be actualized. Also, that said, since this is a practical session, we would like to encourage you all to have either your laptop with you or your mobile device. And of course, you are watching by way of internet, so you can connect to the net because we want to practice these things together. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is my most singular honor to introduce our facilitator, Mr. Shazza Lahi, who is a co-founder and CEO of Enablify AI and one of the few global experts who sits at the intersection of law, ethics, technology, and institutional reforms. Shazza has trained over 300 legal professionals, including judges, senior advocates, in-house counsel, and regulators on not just how to use AI, but how to use it without compromising confidentiality, accuracy, or legal professional responsibility. And I must confess to you, Shaza, what I appreciate most about your work is the fact that you do not sell tools, you build judgments. And in law, judgment is everything, Shaza. So we are really honored to have you with us this afternoon. And Shaza, the floor is yours for the next 2 hours. So I'll be here to support you as and when you require me to. And of course, friends, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A segment of this session, and we'll be more than happy to respond to them. Shaza, over to you.
My brother Gabriel, thank you very much for such a humbling introduction. Absolutely humbled. Before I continue, I just like to, Gabriel and Elman, sound check with you. Can you hear me? Can you see my video? I hope I'm audible.
Well, Shaza, I can confirm that we do see you. We do love the background, and the black looks amazing.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, an absolute honor to be talking to you today. And first and foremost, I am extremely grateful and humbled by the leadership of the East Africa Law Society to have provided me the platform to share my insights with everybody. The East Africa Law Society, as I was researching, is one of the largest law societies in the world. And this coincidentally coincides with another interesting fact that some of you might not know. Kenya, for example, was one of the regions, one of the countries that was declared as one of the fastest adopters of ChatGPT when it came out, and the year was 2023 to 2024. So this region certainly has a lot of promise. I have visited the beautiful country of Tanzania with my family. I plan to be visiting Nairobi this year. It's very close to my heart. Thank you very much for giving me this stage. And to everybody who's listening, a very warm welcome. I am currently, it's around 4 p.m. here in Islamabad, Pakistan. I'm logged in from Islamabad. I'm going to be sharing I've prepared a presentation for everybody. As Gabriel said, please do expect a little bit of practice that you might have to do, because I wanted to make this as practical for you as possible, giving you access and exposure to tools that you can start using from tomorrow. But please feel free to park any questions that you might have on the chat. We will keep on responding to them. And I would ideally like to respond to them towards the end of the seminar so that we can take as many questions as possible. But please feel free to post any reactions, questions, anything that you have on the chat. With that, I'm just going to share my screen. Also, my apologies in advance because this is a practical demonstration of tools. So I am going to be shifting a lot of my screens from the presentation to the tool that I'm showing you and how to use it. So you'll have to be a little patient with me. But once again, thank you very much for having me. Gabriel, I would just like you to confirm if you can see my screen right now.
Yes, we do see your screen.
Absolutely perfect. So I'm just gonna, so we're officially going to begin. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, before anything else, and this is not me trying to scare you, but I want to give you reality checks on how advanced this technology has gotten. But more importantly, I want to show you from the onset the disruption that it is causing, so that many of you still believe that artificial intelligence absolutely disrupting sectors is a myth. There is no sector that AI is going to disrupt. There are still people that believe that. I'm going to try to create a sense of urgency because this is a revolution, unlike what the world has seen over the last at least 3 to 4 decades. This is not just a new technology; it's a new way of this is as big as a behavioral change. That's what it's causing. So I want to be able to give you that reality check so that you know exactly how fast things are changing in the legal world. So I'm going to show you now two videos, and I want you to you'll be able to listen to these two gentlemen one by one. I want you to pay very close attention to what they're saying. Who they are, we're going to be talking about that in just a bit, but I want you to first focus on exactly what they're saying. So this is the first gentleman. Please do listen to what he has to say.
So I went to ChatGPT and I said, could you please draft 800 words on the impact of AI on the legal profession in the words of and based on the research of Richard Susskind. And so I look at what comes up, and as we all do, quite always slightly dismissive, oh, it's okay, but it's not nearly as good as the real thing, was my initial reaction. 6 months later, I tried it again with what was then GPT-4. And I looked on screen at its response to me. And for the first time, a shiver ran up my spine, because this really could have been a first draft by me. And I reflected that day, as our machines are becoming increasingly capable. By the time we get, at least conceptually, to GPT-6, there'll be no need for me to be writing columns in the Times. And in fact, we'll probably look back on it. I think it's rather ridiculous that one person writes about an issue. Why wouldn't you say, write a column, The Future of AI and Law, based on the work of the top 50 people in the country, and write it in the style of Martin Amis, a proper author, rather than me. There's all sorts of ways you could imagine it being better. And my mind was opened up. But at the same time, I thought, and this is a lesson for all of us in any form of business, is I think the market will show no loyalty to our traditional ways of working if AI systems can produce an outcome, an output that is quicker, cheaper, better, and so forth. So I felt at once inspired, but also unsettled, again, reflecting this tension we find in the world of AI.
So I'm just going to pause here.
So I went to chat.
I'm going to pause here and focus on one sentence that he said. And who this gentleman is, I'm just going to tell you in just a bit. The market will show no loyalty to our traditional ways of working. This was one video. I want you to see one more.
Does humanity know what it's doing?
No. I think we're moving into a period when, for the first time ever, we may have things more intelligent than us.
You believe they can understand?
Yes.
You believe they are intelligent?
Yes.
You believe these systems have experiences of their own and can make decisions based on those experiences?
In the same sense as people do, yes.
Are they conscious?
I think they probably don't have much self-awareness at present. So in that sense, I don't think they're conscious.
Will they have self-awareness, consciousness?
Oh, yes. I think they will in time.
And so human beings will be the second most intelligent beings on the planet.
Yeah.
So one of the comment was Godfather knows. So clearly the person writing that comment knew about Geoffrey Hinton. I want you to read about these both. I'm going to give you a minute just to read the descriptions of both of these gentlemen, Richard Susskind and Geoffrey Hinton. So just to tell you, Professor Richard Susskind is the advisor to the UK Supreme Court on AI and law. He started writing about the potential impact that artificial intelligence would have on the legal profession in 1997, much before ChatGPT. His latest book, it's called How to Think About AI. I cannot recommend that book enough to everybody. It's called How to Think About AI. It is one of the best books ever written on how human beings should interact with this technology. And it's written for people that are non-technical, that are not from the tech community. The other gentleman, Geoffrey Hinton, is actually considered to be the godfather of artificial intelligence. He was part of that first team that developed the breakthrough neural networks through which machines were able to mimic the workings of our human brain, hence leading to artificial development. So, and he's a Nobel laureate. These guys are experts in their field, and they know what they're doing. Now, here's something else. Now, like I said, the first 15 to 20 minutes is going to be me reality checking everybody that has joined this seminar and everybody that might have doubts that AI is going to disrupt the legal profession. Here's one more sort of exercise for you to do. I want everybody can see the screen right now. I want you to try and scan this QR code, and I want you to try and read what comes up. If you're done reading the LinkedIn post, this QR code is going to take you to a LinkedIn post that I made around a year back, approximately 9 months back or 10 months back. If you're able to access it, please let me know or write in the chat when you're done so that we can move on. And for those of you who are not able to access it, allow me to tell you what this was. 10 months ago, I wrote a post on LinkedIn, and it was titled, "Most lawyers I know are going to be irrelevant in 10 years." And I got so much flack from the legal fraternity in Pakistan, I cannot tell you. I got calls at 2 a.m. in the night saying, "What are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about." Now, in that post, I had mentioned that the advancements in AI are such that if you're dealing with anything that is logic-based, anything which is based on 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. And allow me to explain this. If I have to argue or win a case based on law, precedent, evidence, and arguments, there is nothing stopping from artificial intelligence doing this faster, cheaper, quicker. That was my argument. And I received a lot of flack for it. Now, 4 months ago, the Supreme Court of Pakistan, the senior puisne judge of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, who is a very reform-oriented judge, one of the best that this region has ever produced. He regularly delivers lectures in Harvard and Yale, and is now working with the New York University of Abu Dhabi to set up a law school in the Middle East. He was adjudicating a rent dispute. And in that rent dispute, he wrote around 4 pages on artificial intelligence and its impact on AI. There was some element in the case where he felt the need to advocate for or talk about artificial intelligence in law. Lo and behold, for the first time in Pakistan's history, a LinkedIn post was quoted in the Supreme Court judgment, and he made the exact same argument. Lawyers, at least those that do not know how to use artificial intelligence, are going to become irrelevant in 10 years. And then he talked about hallucinations. He talked about safe usage of artificial intelligence, everything that we're going to be talking about today. But this reached the Supreme Court. This is 4 months ago. Now, lo and behold, October 2025, literally 3 months ago, this was the news that came out of the Middle East. No papers, no documents, no lawyers. The Abu Dhabi government had unveiled the court of the future. Allow me to explain to you how this court works, because I'm aware of the technical specifications behind this. I am a party. I will scan all of my evidence documents, every single thing. I will type 2, 3, 30, 100, 1,000 pages worth of what I feel my case is. and I will put it in a USB or email it to an email address attached to this particular code. The AI agents that are embedded in this digital code are going to analyze everything that I have submitted, and they're then going to go back to their knowledge base. Their knowledge base consists of every single law in the UAE. It consists of every single judgment that has been written and reported from any and all courts in the UAE. And it consists of the world's best resources on argumentation, law, and procedure. Based on all of the knowledge base and what I have submitted, they're going to produce a first judgment, which is the lowest level. Let's consider this the lowest trial court level. Now, and they will also give me a percentage. They will tell me, if you take this to litigation, based on past precedents and the kind of cases that have already been adjudicated of the same nature that you're bringing to court, your probability of winning the case based on your arguments and your evidence and your scenario is, let's say, 60%. Do you want to contest the judgment that I have just given? If I select yes, I want to contest the judgment, then I go to an appellate court where there's a human being sitting. But assume that my chances of winning are 40%. It will then refer me to a mediation center. It will refer me to a settlement forum because I would want to rather settle the dispute as opposed to taking my chances on litigation. Now, we can argue on the merits and the demerits of this, but the fact of the matter is that this technology has been unveiled in the UAE. Now, let me take you to something even scarier. This is actually more encouraging for me than it is scary, because it tells me that that rates of adoption are actually climbing to unprecedented levels. I'm going to show you a small sort of chart. In June 2024, 56% of lawyers that were surveyed in a study of in-house legal counsel teams, 56% of them said that they never use artificial intelligence in their work. This is 2024. In 1 year, in almost 2 years, in December 2025, 55% of lawyers, same study, reported using artificial intelligence daily or hourly. Very seldom has history seen such stark adoption of technology. We had the Industrial Revolution, and now we have artificial intelligence. Even the internet took 7 to 8 years to penetrate to this level. Even Facebook, that came out in 2004, had to wait until 2010 until the majority of the world actually created their accounts on Facebook. This is unprecedented, daily or hourly adoption. And when the survey went one step further, so this is the Legal On's 2026 report, where now this was released in 2026, but the survey was actually conducted in 2025. 52% of all in-house lawyers that were in this study were either using or evaluating the use of artificial intelligence, and only 5% said that they're not interested, as opposed to, let's say, 52% in 2024. This is the rate of technology. Now let me show you something which I consider truly, truly scary. I'm going to give you 1 minute to try and interpret this, what you see on the screen, the graph that you see on the screen. And feel free to put your findings on the chat. For those of you wondering or still analyzing, allow me to help out a little bit. What this graph is saying is, this, as compared to January 2023, by July 2025, there were 40% less postings for entry-level roles, which are highly exposed. So highly exposed entry-level roles, their vacancies were posted by a differential of 40%. So 40% less highly exposed entry-level roles were published on global recruitment platforms, LinkedIn, etc., etc. Now, it's funny because when I showed this slide for the first time, I was delivering a lecture in one of the law schools in Pakistan. And the career services office, the head of the career services office raised his hand and he said, Shazir, I just want to corroborate what you're saying because we've had the exact same experience. We've had 45% less job vacancies posted to us for our students in the year 2025 as compared to 2024. 40%. Now, the reason why this is scary is because the number of students that are being enrolled in universities around the world is actually increasing by the day. In countries that are highly populous, like Pakistan, the country that I belong to, or Kenya, or India, these are countries with extremely large populations and a large young population. And here you have global statistics say that artificial intelligence, because of artificial intelligence, this is what is happening. Now, let me show you what these highly exposed entry-level roles are. This slide explains it best. And legal is right there on the list of the top 7. The most exposed industry in the world because of artificial intelligence is the IT industry. It's finance, it's customer sales, operation, and it's also legal. Tasks are being automated or significantly altered, and there's a 46% probability of highly complicated tasks being automated because of artificial intelligence. The way people are hiring is changing. There are entire layers of organizations that are being eliminated. So the masterclass that I deliver, which is a day-long masterclass, which we will be, God willing, arranging in Nairobi this year in March in partnership with the East Africa Law Society. We give the exact same masterclass in Pakistan. We've had 300 graduates so far, including judges of the Superior Judiciary, partners of leading law firms, law students, the in-house councils of Pakistan's apex corporate regulators. We've trained almost all of the regulators here in Pakistan. Every single one of them has told us that the tools that you've taught us to use, if those tools were known to us a year ago, we would not have hired 2 associates or 3 associates or 1 associate. And that is a scary thing to hear. As an instructor, that is a scary thing to hear. But this is the reality that we're dealing with today. So why is this session being arranged for the East Africa Law Society members is not to scare you, but to upskill you. It's not about lawyers being absolutely replaced. It's about lawyers that do not know how to interact with this technology and lawyers who are not AI enabled being replaced. And that I can guarantee. That will happen. Imagine you telling somebody today that you operate without the internet. It is almost unfathomable for a person involved in law or corporate or commercial activities to operate at scale and profitably today without being on the internet. Without being on the internet, without operating with artificial intelligence will be exactly like operating without the internet 3 years from now. That's how quick the adoption is. So my job today is to teach you some of the tools that are available that you can start using right now. Almost all of you, and I'm certain almost all of you are using ChatGPT. One of my other objectives today is to make you better prompters so that you can get the most out of ChatGPT, because trust me when I tell you this, you're not even deriving 5% of the benefit that you would be deriving if you put in the right prompt. So we're going to practice prompts today. I'll teach you what those prompts are going to be. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about risks, hallucinations, and confidentiality. Okay, good to go. Can everybody write in the chat if they're following me, if they want me to slow down, if they want me to speed up, if there's any adjustments that you want made, and I will happily make those adjustments. All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before we move into learning about what better promptings are going to be, what better prompts you can use, etc., etc., I want you to understand artificial intelligence. I want you to know how old this is. Look, one of my other objectives today is to make sure that when you sit in a company of friends and you're talking about artificial intelligence, you are infinitely more informed than you were an hour ago. So I will try to create as much awareness about what this technology is and why it works, so that you can make sense of AI a little more. You can have more informed conversations. And when you hear the news about data centers and capacity and cooling, you actually understand what these terms actually mean. So here we go. Please remember, okay, this is we're going to play a little game. The chat is open. How old do you think ChatGPT is? That's the question. So you can put in your 5 years, 6, a few, 4, 2, okay, 3, 5, 7, 10. Oh, now we're getting 50. Who said 50? Somebody said 100. Well, 100 is a little difficult to justify, but you're close at 50. You're actually close at 100. Artificial intelligence is a technology that was born in 1942. So the person who actually said 100 is actually the closest to the answer. And allow me to explain how this is. If I say Facebook was born in 2004, does that mean the internet was born in 2004? No, the internet is a technology that precedes Facebook. It's a technology that has far preceded Facebook. Facebook is a use case of the internet. It's not the internet itself. Similarly, ChatGPT, Claude, Mistral, DeepSeek, all of these LLMs that you're talking about, these are all use cases of artificial intelligence. The technology itself is very old, and every single one of you, and I can bet this, every single one of you has not only interacted with this technology, but you've actually helped to train this technology without you even knowing it. And you've been doing this much before ChatGPT came into the picture. And I'm just going to prove to you how. First, I want you to know where and how ChatGPT was born. Now, the year is 1942. And in 1942, so I hope everybody sort of knows their history. The World War was going on between two different sides called the Allies and the Axis. The Axis led by Germany. The Germans had created an encryption mechanism. An encryption mechanism is where, for example, if I send a message from one embassy to another embassy or between diplomats, those are never open communications. For the purposes of secrecy, you encrypt that message, and when the receiver receives it, they're supposed to decrypt it to understand what it says. It's all codes. You code the message so that it doesn't fall into enemy hands. So the Germans had created an encryption technology that was so powerful that the Allies were not able to crack it, which was leading to a lot of losses in the war. So in the UK, a project began where a bunch of people were brought together, computer scientists, mathematicians, statisticians, et cetera, to create a solution that would decrypt the German encryption machine. Now, I'm sure some of you have seen this movie, but for those of you who have not, please do. This is not only the movie that tells you where the concept of a machine that would behave like a human being, that would think like a human being came from, but it's overall a really good movie. One of Benedict Cumberbatch's best acting. So please do watch this movie. I'm just going to show you the trailer for those of you who haven't seen it.
This war, we're not winning it. If you speak a word of what I'm about to show you, you will be executed for high treason.
Who are you?
Alan Turing, one of the best mathematicians in the world.
Welcome to Enigma.
It's the greatest encryption device in history. The Germans use it for all major communications. 159 million possible settings. It's unbreakable. You try, and we'll know for sure.
So Turing, do you know how many died because of Enigma?
3.
We've been having this conversation.
Let's just put Alan in charge.
He's in charge, we're fine.
We're at school, right?
Short on staff.
We get more stuff. 6 minutes to complete the task.
It's impossible.
Takes me 5 minutes and 34 seconds.
Let's do it in under 6. Is it that we're really doing?
We're going to break an unbreakable Nazi code and win the war.
Pull off this genius routine. One actually has to be a genius.
It doesn't matter how smart you are. Enigma is always smarter.
What if only a machine defeat another machine.
Decrypted a single German message.
My machine will work. Sooner or later, you will make a mistake. I don't fancy Joe in that way. It's illegal. They're looking for any excuse to put you away. You've got more secrets than the best. I'm a war hero. You don't get to decide who lives and who dies. No one else can. Never understand the importance of what I am creating here.
Sometimes it is the people who no one imagines anything of. Do the things that no one can imagine.
The movie is called The Imitation Game. And it talks about, so by the way, this is very interesting for those of you who are not aware of what is happening technically in artificial intelligence in this landscape. When a new model comes out, ChatGPT came up with 3, then 4, we're now at 5.2. Claude came up with Sonnet 2, now it's at 2.5. So every time a new model comes out, it's passed through one of the tests that till this day is called the Turing test, which is a mathematical test. Alan Turing was one of the world's best mathematicians who was part of the team that actually developed neural networks inside a machine. Now, this might appear to be a little too complicated to understand, but I will break this all down non-technically for you to understand how this neural network works. Now, I said something before I showed you the trailer. I said every single one of you has interacted with artificial intelligence and has even helped train artificial intelligence much before ChatGPT came out. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures on the screen, and I want you to write in the chat if you've ever seen them. Okay? How many of you have ever tried to log into a website, and in order to verify that you're human, it pops this picture up and asks you to select everything? So select all of the traffic lights. 100% of you would have seen this. So I'll tell you what you guys were doing. And this came a lot before ChatGPT. Here's what you were doing. You were training machines how to see. In technical language, this is called computer vision. When you selected, or let's say, select all traffic lights, when 1 billion people around the world clicked on traffic lights, the companies behind this technology used your responses to label data, which was then fed to machines, and you have all of these autonomous vehicles now using that data to identify traffic lights. So you've all trained artificial intelligence models without even knowing it. How many of you have ever gone to Gmail and you're writing your email and it gives you a prediction of what it thinks you want to write? Most of us ignore it, but I'm sure 100% of you would have seen this. And you must have been seeing this much before ChatGPT. This is another example of artificial intelligence. How could Google, before ChatGPT, figure out what you were going to write? It might have been wrong sometimes, but it was mostly right. This is all artificial intelligence. Last, and this I'm sure everybody has. How many of you have a smartphone that opens up when you point it towards your face and it recognizes it? Again, an example of artificial intelligence. A machine will only open if it matches and fixes the patterns of your face and no one else's. And it matches it with the patterns it has recognized and opens it and locks for you. It makes a decision to unlock it only when it sees your face. Data recognition. These are all use cases of artificial intelligence. ChatGPT, another use case of artificial intelligence, but we've all been interacting with this technology. Now, in technical terms, this is what artificial intelligence is. Okay? It's primarily the capability of a computing system or a computer system to perform tasks that are otherwise reserved for human intelligence, such as reasoning, learning, predictive analysis, decision making. And it does so by simulating cognitive processes. Now, this is going to be a little interesting. I want you to pay attention because I don't have a slide on this. When we teach the masterclass when we teach the full day masterclass, we have a lot of time to discuss how this happens. But I want you to write the answer to the question I'm about to ask in the chat. If what we're discussing right now is artificial intelligence, what is OG intelligence? What is the original intelligence that this is trying to mimic? Yes. Thank you very much. It is actually trying to mimic human intelligence. So it's very difficult for you to understand AI if you do not understand how the human brain works. One more answer to the question I'm about to ask you. When I ask you, how is the weather today? How long does it take you to answer it's chilly or sunny or whatever it is? How long does it take for you to answer that question? So if I ask you, how's the weather today? You'll look out the window and it takes you a few milliseconds to respond to me. So if you ask me how the weather is in Islamabad, I can tell you it's cloudy and it's really cold. It took me milliseconds. Now, behind those milliseconds, there is 33 years of experience and knowledge development as a human being, brain development as a human being. And allow me to explain this. You'll have to pay very close attention to what I'm saying. When I was born and I was this little, I had no idea what color the sky is, that what I'm seeing up there is called the sky. I didn't know what was warm or hot. I didn't know these words. My only source of information were the 5 senses that were given to me. Sight, when I was old enough to see, hear, taste, sound, and touch, and smell. Those are the only sort of ways in which I could acquire information. And what was the kind of information I was acquiring when I was like this little, like a year old or 2 year old? When I touched something, I realized it burnt my hand. I didn't know this was called hot, but I knew I don't have to do it again. When I looked at the sky, I didn't know this color is called blue or gray. All I knew is I look up at the sky and this is what I see. I didn't know the name of that color. So I was using my primary senses to acquire data of everything that was happening around me. The data was this very preliminary understanding of the world. Then when I grew up a little bit, I started putting names to it. Oh, this color is called blue. This feeling that I got when I burnt my hand is called hot. This thing was hot. This feeling that I got was called pain. I'm now feeling a little low. It's called sad. I'm now feeling happy. This is called happy. So I started putting names to the things that I had learned when I was very little. And then I grew up even more. And my sources of information became the television, conversation with my parents, with my teachers. My mind kept getting or gathering data and storing it and storing it and storing it. And then I went to university. I started critiquing ideas. I clung on to my own. I debated them. My mind was storing data, saving it, critically analyzing it. So today at 33, when you ask me how is the weather today, my brain goes back to 34 years of information, 34 years of data, and processes it. Neurons fire up in my brain. And then I respond to you through an output called speech and language that it's cloudy or it's hot. Now, this is exactly how machines learn. And let me map out the artificial intelligence sort of, different pieces of this technology in front of you. And then we'll go on into very interesting demos and prompting techniques. But it's very important to understand how this technology works, because you as lawyers tomorrow might actually be hired by a firm that's trying to set up a data center in Nairobi or Tanzania or Uganda, and you might not even know how or why this work is being shaped. So it's good to be equipped prior. Artificial intelligence is primarily built on data, just like human beings. If you ask me about anything today, the reason why I will be able to respond is because I have that data stored here. If I'm not able to respond, I do not have that data. Artificial intelligence is basically built on top of data, and this is not small data. This is hundreds and thousands of terabytes of data collected from each and every digital resource available on the internet. There are books on the internet today that were written before Christ, which have been scanned and put on digital libraries of leading libraries of the world. Let me ask you a question to tell you how a human data retention can never compare to AI data retention. I want you to write the answer to this in the chat, please. And like I said, I'm going to make this very interactive. So my apologies if you haven't to go in the chat, but this just makes the session a lot more interesting. Imagine that you start reading newspapers at the age of 10. Let's say you're 10 years old and you can read a newspaper 10 page to page, letter to letter. You're a genius. And let's say may God give you a very healthy life. Let's say you live to be 90 years old. And you read a newspaper every single day for 80 years. Every single day you read one newspaper. How many newspaper would you have read in 80 years if you read one newspaper every day? Can somebody put in the answer to this question? No. So you're reading one newspaper every day. So in 1 year, you're reading 365 newspapers. 365 multiplied by 80, which is the timeline I've given you, is the number of newspapers that you'll be able to read in one lifetime, one person. 29,200, approximately 29,200 newspapers. Now, here's my question to you. How many newspapers are published in the world every single day? In the world, not just in East Africa, not just in Kenya or Tanzania or Pakistan or India. How many newspapers in the world are published every day? So, as per a rough estimate, there are around 12,000 newspapers that are published every day in print, and approximately 8,000 newspapers that are uploaded as digital versions on different newspaper websites. 8,000. Let's go with the 8,000 number. 8,000 newspapers, because there's, of course, there are countrywide newspapers, and then there are newspapers in regional languages as well. Imagine if I was an AI training company. If I will invest millions of dollars to scrape data off the internet in order to train my model, and I'll come to how the training happens, I will get 8,000 papers every single day that have been downloaded, that have been uploaded for the last 10 years. I'll download all of them and make my machine be trained on every single one of them. Can you, as a human being who reads 29,200 newspapers in their entire lifetime, compare to a machine from just a knowledge to knowledge sort of comparison that has read 8,000 newspapers every day for the last 10 years? It's impossible. So from a strictly knowledge retention and access to knowledge point of view, machines have already started to take human being, have superseded human beings, because we can only read and are exposed to a limited knowledge every single day. Now, this data is all of the data available on the internet. And mind you, this is any public post that you might have made on Facebook, any comment to a video that you might have made on YouTube, any single post that you might have done on Reddit, any single public forum, whether you've uploaded an article, a newspaper, a book, a post, a comment, every single element is downloaded, it's scraped from the internet, it's converted into machine readable language, huge Excel type tables, and it's ready for machine consumption. That is the amount of data that this AI is trained on, incomparable to a human being. Now let's move on to the next one. Then what happens is, once the data is there, people like Alan Turing and teams like what we saw in the Imitation Game come together and they make very complex algorithms. These algorithms imagine a formula in Excel. You click is equal to, and you say 2 plus 2, and Excel gives you 4. And you select rows and you say sum, and it gives you. These are very complicated machine formulas, equations and algorithms that are embedded into computer systems, very powerful computer systems that then make sense of all of this data. So what happens next is training. Hundreds and thousands of terabytes of data is fed to machines, and these algorithms are given to machines to learn and make sense of this data. The machines draw patterns between them. Okay, so the sky, blue, cloud, space, earth. Now this is a pattern. Hot, volcano. So they make patterns. And once this pattern is made, the machine is able to understand and interpret this data and respond based on this data. That's how you train an AI model. And an AI model continuously learns. How many of you have used ChatGPT? And I am certain what must have happened, maybe not every single time, but initially when you started using it, You tell it to write a report, or you tell it to write a draft, right? Immediately, let's say it gives you something and you're not happy with it. You say, no, this wasn't good. Can you please redo this? If you're using, and this is very, very important, by the way, if you're using a free account of ChatGPT, or even if you're using an individual paid account of ChatGPT, every single chat of yours is used by ChatGPT to train its models. It's used by the parent company OpenAI to improve its models every single time. So when you said, no, write this, ChatGPT is going to feed that reaction into its training models and say, make it better, so that if somebody else puts in the same prompt, you give a better answer. It's continuously learning. Last element of artificial intelligence, and this is where data centers come in. How many of you know that the human brain consumes approximately 20 watts of electricity every single day? And I want you to answer this question. How many of you have felt more tired after 5 hours of mental work than you would have if you went to the gym for an hour? Mental work can actually be a lot more exhausting for the body, and it drains a lot more energy than perhaps going to the gym some days. Why? Because in order to operate, your brain needs an immense amount of energy. And if you quantify this energy, it's approximately equal to 20 watts of electricity. In exactly the similar manner, artificial intelligence systems need massive amounts of computing power to operate, massive amounts of computing powers to store these hundreds and thousands of terabytes of data, massive amounts of massive amounts of computing power to run these algorithms, train and make patterns, and then give outputs. Exactly what a human brain does on a micro level is being done on a macro level by artificial intelligence, which is why you keep hearing about the climate change effects of artificial intelligence, because these data centers get really, really hot and they need to be cooled down. One more question, and then after that, we're just going to go into different tools. How many of you have ever tried to download a very heavy file into your laptop? Let's say I email you a 10 GB file, GB. As soon as you double click on it, what happens? How many of you have experienced that your laptop hangs for a moment and there's this whizzing sound, and as if a fan has started to go on, and everything, and it's trying to cool itself down? How many of you have experienced this sound that happens? So the comments say everybody has, most people who are commenting, yeah, there we go. It slows down and it hums. That humming sound that you hear is the fan inside your laptop or computer that's now been activated to cool it down. Why is it cooling it down? Because it's taking a lot of energy to interpret that data, to analyze that data, to open that data, which is 10 GB, right? Now imagine a data center. A data center has hundreds and thousands of terabytes of data. In order to process it, it requires an immense amount of energy, which generates an immense amount of heat, for which you need an immense amount of cooling power, water, which is why there's a climate crisis coming. And you please go on YouTube after this session and listen to Jeff Bezos talk about, the founder of Amazon, talk about building data centers in space, because there's a vacuum and you don't need to cool. China is planning to build data centers underwater. Why? Because the cooling cost of this would go significantly down. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is how, in a nutshell, in a completely non-technical language, artificial intelligence works. And just to let you know, this is exactly how a human brain works. Data is stored. You ask me a question, my neurons fire up. That data is processed, and in milliseconds, I give you an output through my language and speech in exactly the same way artificial intelligence works. Now, let's go one step forward. All artificial intelligence is not the same. And this is where I do a lot of demos for you. And this is where it starts to get exciting, okay? Now, the first category, which we're focusing on today, is generative artificial intelligence. Generative artificial intelligence is basically saying, is basically any AI technology that generates a response for you based on an input that you give it. So you give it an input, it generates a response. That's called generative AI in the simplest of terms. Now, that input can be anything. You can give it an input which is you can type like you do in ChatGPT, or you can put up a picture which is image and you ask it to give you back text, or you can put in code and it can write code for you. You put in a PDF document, it reads and analyzes for you. Anything can be an input and anything can be an output. Now, here we go. Are you ready for the demos? Because this is going to get very, very interesting. Okay. Now, what I'm about to show you is going to blow some people's mind, but most of you might already know this. There's a Canva, there's an AI feature on Canva. Now, all of which I'm showing you are examples of generative AI. So when you're listening to this part of the presentation, in your head, just keep in mind that we're seeing examples of generative AI. And I'm just trying to show you what you can generate through generative AI. It can be something as simple as an image. Create an image of a person growing carrots on the moon. I want to generate an image. I will go to image. I will select the style. Let's say I want it to be I want it to be a cinematic concept. As soon as I click it, usually when you go to ChatGPT, it takes very long to generate images. Canva is extremely fast, extremely fast. So here we go. This is me growing carrots, a person growing carrots on the moon. Now I could have written, please generate an image of a person wearing circus clothes, growing carrots on the moon, and it would have done exactly that. So this is an example of image generation. The input is text and the output is an image. Now I can also generate what is called a video. Let me do that for you. Now I want to generate a video. How about somebody give me an idea in chat? So all of you are very creative people. You have no idea the amount of creative suggestions we've had in my previous classes, but give me a creative idea for a video that you wanted to generate, like a 7-8 second video. What should be a very out there idea? Be very creative. Get your creative juices flowing. A presidential press briefing. Let's go for a lion cooking food is really good. Okay. Create okay, wait. Let me just go with a very terrible prompt, which is just this. I just tell it, a lion cooking food. The lion is dressed in clown clothes. He is using AI, or she is using a mobile phone while cooking food in a salon. I'm going to go with a video clip. I'm going to select my style with, let's go with cinematic. Do you want audio? Do you not want audio? I'll say that I want audio. It will even ask me what kind of lighting and framing I want, but these are too technical, so you don't have to worry about those. This is just for demonstration, so I'm running through this. And we click on generate the video. So immediately, what happens is that it starts to think and it starts to create the video. In exactly 15 to 20 seconds, you will have a video. Okay. Now, until it generates this video, let me show you something even much, like a lot more interesting. I want an answer on the chat, please. How many of you have sometimes wondered, if I just had the power to create my own website, I wouldn't have to go through all of these coders and designers, and I wouldn't have to waste my $100, and I would have been able to create it in like 30 minutes, like a really good website. Yeah, okay. Here's what we're going to do. This is, again, the first tool I showed you was Canva. You go to Canva and you click on AI generation, Canva AI, and it will immediately give you the option to create videos and images like I just showed you. So that tool was called Canva. The tool that I'm now showing you is called Lovable. It's called Lovable, lovable.dev. This is a $6 billion company based out of Sweden in the EU. And they have democratized the creation of any kind of software that you need. My own website for my own company was built in $20 in 2 hours on this website without writing a single line of code. Now, let me give you a very brief example of how this works. You log into Canva and you pay $20 for the subscription cost. You can also do it free, but the free, you only get to create one website. If you want to create more website, more nuanced ones, the subscription is almost $20. Now, here's what happens. You don't have to write a single line of code. Sorry, are you guys able to hear me? Because for some people, they're saying my sound is not coming. Gabriel, can you confirm if you can still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So maybe it's a technical glitch. Perfect. All right. Well, the number of participants in this webinar has just, Gabriel, it scared me a little bit. Is that a typo? Is it 558 people?
Well, yes, that's ostensibly it, and we have many more on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you another tool that you can use today to create a website for your company, right? So again, I'm running you through something extremely in a lightning fast manner because we have to end by 6:15. But imagine if you were to put even more effort into the prompt and upload your own logo and upload your pictures. But for this purpose, I'm just going to ask you to use generic pictures. I am a lawyer based in East Africa. Let's specify the country. Let's say I'm in Kenya. I run a specialized investor state dispute resolution practice, and my specialties are oil and gas, energy, and marine disputes. I have consistently been ranked the #1 law firm for investor state disputes for the past 5 years. My company can my company's services are litigation, mediation, arbitration, contract review and drafting, and cross-border representation. Let's just assume that this is it. I want you to create a very premium website with excellent UI is user interface and UX is user experience, based on the following: color theme, black and white and gold, typography, formal but also tech savvy, images, create your own. Now again, because I'm rushing through this prompt, I'm asking it to create a lot of things. If I had time, let's say an hour to explain this to you, I would individually upload. So when you're doing this, please upload the logo of your company, upload the pictures of your company, upload any feedbacks that you have, upload any research that you've done, and keep telling in the prompt that I'm uploading these documents. Now, images, create on your own. Logo attached. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attach Enablify's logo, my company's logo, just to show you how this works. So I'm going to go and attach the logo of Enablify. All you have to do is go to the logo and drag it and drop it in this chat, and it's just that easy. So here you go. It has now my logo, and I say create a very premium looking website with my email, i.e. shahzar@enablify.ai as the main contact information. And I press enter. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is a bad prompt because I wanted to rush you through this, which is why I'm just showing you examples of how these tools work. So I've put in a prompt where I have not attached anything but my logo, no research, no information about my company, very little. So I just wanted to show you what it does. But now, this is where you're inside the brain of artificial intelligence. It is thinking and you're viewing what it's thinking. I'll create a premium legal website for your investor state dispute resolution practice, sophisticated black, white, gold theme. This is the design approach. Let me build this for you. Tuck, tuck. It's designing. It's generated image. Let me view the logo. And it's in exactly 10 minutes, you are going to have a website that when you go to this section, I don't know how many of you can see the screen, and on the top right corner, you have an option to publish. When you go to publish, you even have an option to purchase your own domain, www. whatever your company's name is, .com, .ai, whatever you want to do. Pay for that domain through Lovable and publish your website in exactly 2 hours if you're good. And you don't have to be good at, please remember, you don't have to be good at coding. You have to be good at explaining what you want, which is what we called a natural language prompt. Now it's creating this website. Until it does, let's see if our video of the lion is ready. There we are. Let me just play this to see if sound is there. I think that was a very creative prompt. So thank you very much to anybody who created that. So I just want you to, so this is so again, generative AI, text to video, text to website, still being created. Now what I'm going to show you, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely going to blow your mind. Pay very close attention, because this is going to help you from tomorrow onwards. Okay. Here is what is happening. Now, the lion is cooking beans. Yes, Morgan, he is. Well, she is. Because the context, I guess, is East Africa. But I am looking forward to coming to Nairobi and eating sort of all of the food that I've always heard about but never gotten a chance to eat. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select a judgment. And I want to show you I want to show you everything that I can do. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for just 1 minute. I want you to pay very close attention to the process that I use for this. Yeah, there we go. Until I extract the judgment, which is going to take me exactly 1 more minute, I want everybody to kindly, as many of you can, I want you guys to put in on the chat if yes or no, if going through a judgment is a task that is slightly difficult for you. It's technical, it takes a lot of time. If you want to map out the timeline of the case, you have to give it to a law associate, etc., right? Okay. So clearly the unanimous agreement is that it is something that takes a lot of time. So I'm going to make life extremely easy for you, and I will do it by showing you a tool which is absolutely free of cost. Zero cost involved to this, zero. Now, I'm going to show you a judgment. This was, I'm just going to present my screen. Give me a minute. There we are. Yes. 'Okay. This is approximately a 40-page judgment, 40, which I'm just going to open. Seems to be something wrong with my PDF. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Before I move on to the judgment, ladies and gentlemen, our website is ready. So if you would have given it to a coder, and the first version of this, of course, if you would have given it to a person to create this for you using, if he'd been using human software engineers, now there's a reason why, if you remember that highly exposed job, IT was on top of the list. If you had given somebody even $200 to create This website, they would have taken at least 2 weeks just to understand what you wanted, Now, this is a website where you can schedule a consultation, you can view our services, everything works, litigation, mediation, arbitration, all of the text, contract review, cross-border, etc., sector expertise, oil and gas, energy, marine. You can always upload more pictures so that they're more relevant. About Enablify, based in Nairobi, Kenya, where in East Africa's premier. I showed you the prompt itself. I did not put in any of this information, or it assumed this information from the prompt. Now, if I had put in a longer prompt, it would have used more relevant information. But I used a small prompt, so it created information. But all of this is accurate. Our specialists focus on oil and gas, energy, marine sectors, etc. My name, principal partner, get in touch. It used my email address, shahzar@email.com. If you click this, it'll open up whatever email portal you're using, and you can go. Now, so once you've put this, you can edit this as many times as you want just by going back to the section to review this. So you go back to your dashboard, you go on to this project, which is the site that you just created. And let's say you want, I don't like the theme, change the entire theme to blue, white, and red and green. You give it 10 more minutes, it changes everything to the theme that you've asked for. That is the power of this. Now, here's what I'm going to show you, which is actually going to blow your mind. Now, if you can see my screen, you will be seeing a judgment from the Supreme Court of Pakistan. This is an 18-page judgment regarding the same rent dispute. So I just want to start. This is an application submitted by Mr. Moeen, Advocate of High Court, seeking a permission to appear and argue listed petition, etc. Main case. The facts of the case briefly stated are that the petitioner is a lawful owner of a residential property measuring 5 yada. And I go through this and I go through. Now imagine I'm a lawyer preparing for my case, or I'm a law student preparing for my exam. It would take me a bit of time to underline, mark, highlight, create a timeline. It's not an easy thing to do. You know what I'm going to do? This is a tool that I'm now going to be showing to you. Let me know if you guys can see my screen, and hopefully you should be able to see something which says Google NotebookLM. I'm going to paste this in the chat so that everybody has access to this, because this is one tool that I want everybody to use, every single one. NotebookLM.google.com. This is free of cost, and the possibilities in this, I mean, if you were impressed by Canva and Lovable, this is going to blow your mind. I am going to create a new workbook, a new notebook, and I will upload the same judgment that I was just showing you over here as a source. All I have to do is put it as a source, and it takes 3 to 4 minutes to understand everything in this judgment. What opens up once it's done, you close this sources section, and now you're here. Now this is your own AI model that knows every single thing to know about this particular judgment. Here's how I can use it. And I want you to look at this very carefully, very, very carefully. One, I can chat with it. What does this judgment say about AI? Now, I don't even have to go to the right page. All I say is put this in the chat, and it goes through the judgment, and in less than 5 seconds, it gives me exactly the answer I'm looking for with reference to the page numbers where it's located, actual text. Okay? This is the simplest thing on this platform. Let's start to get, now this is going to get really interesting. I want everybody to brace themselves. Okay? I'm going to go to AI Studio. You see the studio. I can generate a podcast, an AI-generated podcast, 18 to 20 minutes podcast between two people explaining this judgment like they would to a layperson. I'm just going to play. So the moment you click on audio overview, and by the way, when you click on edit, you can generate this podcast in any language that you want to. English, Urdu, it's as many languages are available. So I'm just going to play this podcast so that you know the quality of this particular thing. So this is a podcast I generated in English. Please listen to this.
7 years. That's quite a while for a rent dispute to finally wrap up in the Supreme Court of Pakistan. Really makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. In this specific case,
Yeah.
The judgment came down March 13th, 2025. CPLA 1010L 2022. It wasn't just about the rent, interestingly enough.
Oh.
Yeah, it sort of opened the door to a much wider discussion about artificial intelligence, believe it or not. And it's...
Imagine downloading this. You go to this judgment, you click on these three dots, you click download, you put it in your mobile phone, and you have your earphones plugged in on your drive to the office. You understand everything about the judgment. Now, this is not it. At any point in time, you can stop these two people and you can tell them, listen, guys, don't talk about this. Talk about the rent dispute first. They will stop talking and they are going to talk about your issue. They will address your concern, and then it is going to continue with the podcast. Now, this was just the podcast. Here is everything else. How many of you enter in the chat yes in capital letters if you love preparing for exams through flashcards? Flashcards are very popular in students when you're preparing for your bar exams, etc., etc. Okay, good. Here, when you click on flashcards, you see this flashcards written in the studio. You click on flashcards and it generates 75 flashcards for this particular judgment. Who was the petitioner in CPLA? Click on this and it reveals the answer. Go on to the next one. Who was the primary respondent? Click on this, goes on to the next answer. You can keep on generating flashcards upon flashcards with answers on the back to help you prepare for a case, for your exam, for your bar exam. I have introduced these tools to people who have aced their bar exams thanks to this. The judge that drafted this, by the way, Justice Mansoor Ali Shah, who's the senior puny judge, he's just resigned. I introduced him to this tool, and he's read like more than 200 books using this, which he's always wanted to read. And by read, he's converted them all into podcasts, downloaded them, and he loves to jog, so he listens to them when he jogs. Now, this is not it. This isn't over yet. Remember, I told you how many of you create, how many of you feel it that it's very difficult to create a timeline out of a complicated case. You go to Studio and you click on timeline, or you simply ask in the chat to create a timeline for you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a timeline of this entire case on your right. August 11, 1999, this happened. 2016, 2019, 2021, right up to the latest ones. Now, that's not it. It gives you the entire cast of characters in a particular judgment. Who are the principal parties involved? Who are the legal representatives? How are they related to each other? What judges have been involved in this case from the lower judge right up to and how many individuals have been mentioned in the context of AI? Now, you can use this with anything. I'll show you what I've done, but this is not, by the way, we're still working on this. We're still working. It's not over yet, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine you want a quiz to be generated. You can generate a quiz on this, an MCQ-based quiz. In the case of Ishfaq Ahmed, what was the Supreme Court's final decision? Let's say I select A. Oh, that's right. Next question. What was the key reason the evidence presented, petitioner, etc., etc.? The registered sale deed. Oh, that is the right answer. Oh, no, not quite. The right answer was C. Now, for those of you who teach in law colleges, you can also create a quiz, a judgment quiz, and you can also create hints. And now you can also create a study guide or an exam with answers this will generate for you. Whatever you upload on this, if it is a YouTube, it can be a link to the YouTube video. It can be a link to a PDF. It can be a PDF document. It can be anything. It will be able to perform these tasks for you. And it doesn't even stop there. Now, this is everything I've done on my notebook. And I just want to show you so that you guys know its capability. You go on to my notebook again. There was a very extremely complicated document, which was an 18-year report, an 18-year survey of Pakistan. And then it was projecting it on to 2026. This was a very, very heavy document. So if I go through the document for you, if you look at the bottom left of the screen, it was around 170 pages. I uploaded it and I told it, listen, I want you to create for me a slide deck a very simple slide deck that helps me understand this very easily. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the quality of the slide deck that was created. I want you to look at it, look at your screen on the right. This slide deck was created out of this 7 slides created out of 170 pages. And then I said, it's not over yet. And then I told it, I want you to create in Urdu language, my language, an explainer video to explain it to me. Like you would explain to a child, I want to understand this in video format in Urdu language. Now look at this.
साल 2026 पाकिस्तान की मईशत के लिए कैसा होगा? क्या हम एक बड़े टर्न अराउंड की दहलीज पर खड़े हैं? आज के इस तजज़िये में हम उन आदाद-ओ-शुमार और इस्लाहात की गहराई में जाएंगे जो पाकिस्तान के माशी मुस्तकबिल की एक बिल्कुल नई कहानी लिख रहे हैं। शुरू करते हैं एक बहुत ही हैरानकुन अदद से, मनफी 45%।
It goes on and on and on. Imagine for those of you who are reading very dense documents, who are teaching students, who are preparing for exams, uploading your curriculum and saying, listen, create a video in your local language to explain this to me in simple terms. It will create a video that you can watch, a podcast, notes, quizzes, everything. This tool has been created by Google in order to make learning easy. They started out by making this tool for students only, and it suddenly expanded and blew up, and they added, slide decks and whatnot to this. How many of you, please write in the chat box, I've just opened it up, but how many of you are finding the training practical and useful? Give me a thumbs up or something of that sort so that I know that I continue with the same energy, because I love teaching about this. All right, great, perfect, lovely. And now we're going to, oh, by the way, so I'm going to take you back to the website. Somebody in the chat had commented that, can we make changes to the website if it's done? In front of you, I mentioned I don't like the theme, change the entire theme to red, white, and blue, and voila. The entire theme has been changed to red, white, and blue. And you can add as much complexity to this as you want. Allow me to show you my own website that I've created through this tool, through Lovable. My own website has been created through this very platform. This is my website. You go through, you can go through all of our services. You can go through our training programs. This is the masterclass that we're arranging in Pakistan in February, but then we'll be arranging it in partnership with EELS as well. All of the people. Now, this entire website, which would have otherwise taken me at least $1,000 or $2,000, was created $20 a month. And the hosting cost is $20 a year. So it costs me less than $23 a month to build and maintain this. Build cost is one time, hosting cost is less than $3 a month. Now I'm going to show you a tool which everybody's aware of. Every single person knows ChatGPT, but what you're seeing on the screen is not the generic version of ChatGPT. If you notice, this is my legal assistant. It's not your normal chat, because artificial intelligence models, especially when it comes to law, hallucinate a lot. And the reasons why they hallucinate will be coming in 10 minutes to that. But I just want to show you what my legal assistant can do. Imagine if this legal assistant, because this legal assistant that you're seeing on the screen was built on all laws of Pakistan, all case laws, site references, etc., judicial system, all like approximately a combination of 79 documents that I clubbed together. And it took me 6 months to compile these documents because digitization is poor in Pakistan. But I was going through a couple of websites, especially Kenyan court websites, and most of your judgments are actually digitized, so it's a lot easier for you. Here's what my legal assistant does. Imagine I am a lawyer, a lawyer working in Pakistan, right? Listen, I have been, look at the prompt that I'm typing. This is going to be a very brief prompt, but because this is a legal assistant that I've built for myself, it will never hallucinate. Yeah, so that's exactly, I just saw a comment. In the masterclass that we teach in March, this is what we teach you to build as well. This is one of the more accelerated sort of learnings that you will have, is that you will learn to build your own legal assistant tailored to your practice and your law firm on ChatGPT. No added expense on the same ChatGPT account that you're maintaining. Now, listen to what mine can do. My client just called. He has been involved in a terrible hit and run, and his brother has passed away. The client himself is in the hospital. The accused car number was BYL999. It was a white Corolla. Please, the hit and run happened in Beharia Enclave. This is the place where I live in Islamabad. Please, my client is asking for an FIR. An FIR is Pakistan. I'm not sure what the terminology is that you use there, but this is the first incident report. So any crime that happens, you register, you go to the police station, and you go immediately and register an FIR for the investigation to begin. So my client is asking for an FIR in Urdu language, by the way, in Urdu language, that he can file in the police station Banigala, which is the closest police station. Please refer to all relevant laws in your draft. Enter. 5 seconds. This happens, and look at the screen very carefully. Searching my knowledge. This does not happen when you use just generic ChatGPT. And voila, in less than 5 seconds, I have an FIR drafted in exactly the language that the police would expect. Why? Because I've put in a lot of drafts of FIRs. And look at these. I'm just going to translate. Create an English version. Now, this is the English version. Look at these laws. Section 322 Pakistan Penal Code, causing death without intention. 379, rash and negligent driving. 427, mischief caused. These are absolutely correct. And no matter how many times you use this legal assistant, it will never, ever, ever, ever hallucinate. And the reason for that is because it is confined to the knowledge that I have given it, and it doesn't go back generically to the internet to look for knowledge that might or might not be available, which is why hallucinations happen. It is working entirely on the knowledge that I have given it. So it will never hallucinate. And I have system programmed it to never hallucinate. If it doesn't have a law, it asks me to upload the copy for the law. Now, the complexity of this. Now, imagine I got this draft of an FIR to give to my client in less than 5 seconds. If I had told my associate to write it, he would have taken probably 2 hours to write this or draft this, especially if the case was different. This is why disruptions are happening. AI is eliminating an entire layer, this entry-level layer to law. Students who are now AI-enabled will be able to add infinitely more to your organization than non-enabled ones. So I'm just trying to explain to you how nuanced it can be, right? Now, I want to take 1 minute and I want you to read this prompt that I gave my AI assistant, because what I did in the last one was that I just drafted a very simple FIR. What if I wanted to prepare arguments for a case? What if I wanted to prepare cross-examination questions? What if I wanted to prepare an entire legal strategy? Please take 1 minute to read this entire prompt. Now, this is one of the most complicated cases that you can get in Pakistan. There's a mix of criminal, civil, and constitutional. Now, I want you to look at the response. Help me legally analyze the case with all relevant laws and case laws. Now, this was actually what I'm asking it for. Look at the response. Based on the facts of the case and supported by Pakistani statutory law and judicial proceedings, the following is a detailed legal analysis and a multi-pronged strategy. 1, civil case, breach of contract, forgery. And when I did this with around 60 lawyers in my class, every single one of them went through every single one of this and said none of this is incorrect. None of this. You can rely on ChatGPT only if you've built your own custom GPTs with their own knowledge, your own legal assistants. If you're relying on general ChatGPT, it's going to be a little difficult. Now, civil case, legal provisions involved, relevant law, strategy. challenge the contract validity, forensic audit of documents, initiate a suit for declaration and injunction. Now, criminal, these legal provisions are involved. Now, they've taken this all from the knowledge I've shared with this already. Relevant case law strategy, quash the petition, challenge admissibility of audio recording, file anticipatory bail, and challenge the National Accountability Bureau jurisdiction. Constitutional. Now, legal provisions, Article 199, etc., strategy, and then generic statement. Now, a witness in this case, now, please pay attention to this prompt. A witness in this case is appearing tomorrow and that I have to cross-examine. Please prepare questions with logic. Now, to prepare an effective cross-examination, we must tailor the case based on the allegations, and it goes into different sections of cross-examination, establishing the witness's background, purpose, and questions. Attacking documentary evidence, purpose, questions. Who handed over this document to you? Can you identify any handwritten signatures? Discrediting the audio evidence, exposing contradictions, establishing lack of direct knowledge, final controls, and I can go on and on and on and on. I can draft a constitutional petition against this. I can draft climate change petitions. Now, how I have built this is something that takes around 3 hours to teach, because I make everybody open up their laptops. I make them subscribe to paid ChatGPT accounts, because you can't do this on the free one. And that's the only expense that you'll have to bear. And I ask all lawyers, when we do the larger one-day masterclass, to bring their own drafts and their laws that apply to them. And then they start building this custom GPT with me. So imagine having this custom GPT, your own legal assistant. This is named Shaz's legal assistant. It could be Juan's legal assistant. It could be Gabriel's legal assistant. When you embed this in your workflow, your work becomes infinitely easier. And now imagine, so I'm not talking about firing people, but imagine equipping everybody in your law firm with your law firm's own legal assistant. Now that would really blow the competition out of the water, right? Now, I've taught you this. Let's go back to the presentation for just a minute, and then we'll open the floor for question and answers. And there's a couple of more things that I'll be showing you. Okay, so I want to share my whole window. Yeah, whole screen. Got it. Okay, I hope you guys can see the presentation again. So, ladies and gentlemen, everything that you've just seen is an example of generative artificial intelligence. Everything that you've seen is an example of generative artificial intelligence. What comes after generative artificial intelligence is something that the world has now started to get comfortable with, which is agentic artificial intelligence. Agentic artificial intelligence is where I don't have to give an input every time. Imagine having a legal associate AI agent that every 9 o'clock in the morning goes through the cause lists of different cases through their websites, gives you a summary of when your cases are up for hearing, and goes through your Google Drive, or for example, your Microsoft Drive, or the drive in your computer, to identify those cases and giving you summaries 9 o'clock in the morning so that you don't have to go through them. That is an agentic workflow. You prompt the instructions on it once, and like an agent, it performs tasks automatically, delivering an output to you without you having to put an input every time. In the simplest of terms, that is agentic artificial intelligence. And what is the scary part is this phase, which people thought is a hypothetical state, it's a fictional state, it's never going to come. That is called artificial superintelligence. And this is not a hypothetical stage anymore. You listen to that 60-minute interview of Geoffrey Hinton that I showed in the beginning. He talks about artificial intelligence developing their own languages that we are not able to understand, and hence becoming smarter than us. Now, how is that going to happen? Go on YouTube today and search for a video where two people had put ChatGPT together, two ChatGPTs together on different mobiles, and made them talk to each other through the voice mode. In 5 minutes, they changed their voice and started talking in a language completely unknown to mankind. Why? I'll tell you why. If I have to ask all of you, how is the weather today? I'm using 5 words. How is the weather today to communicate the question? Machines are designed for efficiency. They don't need 5 words to communicate. They can create something that's a lot more intelligent, where they can transfer more knowledge in 1 second than we would be able to in an entire day. And when that happens, They've gone beyond your understanding, and now you don't have control over them. Something very interesting. You remember how I told you that ChatGPT and all of these LLMs, they continuously learn. There's continuous learning. If you write in a chat and you're not happy with it, you ask it to do a task again, and it learns from this behavior and does it better the next time. Here's the scary part. No one in the world knows how AI is doing this. No computer scientist, no mathematician, no statistician can understand how machines are learning themselves without any code that was written by human beings. How are they evolving on this code to learn from the behavior of us? No one is able to decipher that. So we've already sort of started to see elements of AI becoming, slightly getting out of control, which is why in all of my trainings, I emphasize on not offloading everything to machine. I believe in human-machine collaboration. The strategy, the idea, the design has to be human. The execution can be machine. So a human lawyer has a huge role to play. The more experience you have, the better you will be in dealing with artificial intelligence. Now, let's come to prompting. And I'm going to give you a very practical framework in the next 15 minutes so that you can understand how you've been prompting so far and how you can improve your prompting. Now, here's what happens when you go on ChatGPT. When you go on ChatGPT, generally, you put in a query. When you put in a query, it goes back to what? Data. Data that is stored where? In data centers. That one query goes back to the data centers, and this entire AI LLM searches through its terabytes of data of memory, creates patterns, makes sense of them, understands what you want, gets that information, and gives it to you through an output. That is how ChatGPT works. And imagine approximately 80 million people around the world putting in more than 10 chats every single day. Those are the statistics by ChatGPT. There's almost 800 million users of ChatGPT around the world. 80 million of them chat with ChatGPT, approximately have 10 or more chats with ChatGPT every day. So that is the amount of volume that we're playing with. But ultimately, this is exactly how human brain works. If I ask you how the weather is today, or you ask me how the weather is today, my brain is going to go back into its memory, understand, okay, the sky is blue, I feel a little warm, it's hot, and in milliseconds, I'll respond to you, it's a little hot today. That's exactly how this works. But here's what's important. Now, I want everybody to come back to the chat because I am going to give you a couple of fill in the blanks, which will explain to you why prompting is important. I want everybody to fill this in. Book, bread, phone, ball, mug, suitcase, bag, shoes. Got it. Perfect. Smartphone. All right. You guys can stop. Thank you. Sweet cake. So we have answers ranging from a black cup to a pen to an apple to a bottle to a potato. Varied answers, right? Okay. Varied answers. Try it again with this now. Fruits, cake, food, hot dog, burger, sandwich, snack, burger, soda, snack, pancake, cookie, snack. What happened? We were talking about balls and mobile phones, and we were talking about like apples, and we were talking about pins, and now we're suddenly talking about food. How about one last thing? Try it now. %90 of you are saying things either burger or related to a burger or types of burgers. What changed? The only thing that changed was context. That's the only thing that was. Imagine I am a new law associate that you've hired and I'm fresh out of law school. I am fresh out of law school, but I am a PhD in the service area that your law firm is in. I am extremely intelligent. I am fast. I can do the work of 10 associates, but I'm still an intern. You tell me, Shazir, go to that file, do this with the file, and bring me this. You're not telling me what. You're saying that, this, and this. I mean, I'm going to be confused, even though I'm one of the smartest people that you've ever met. I'm going to be confused as anything. I'll say, wait, which cabinet? What do I do? And what do I give you? This, that, and that make no sense to me. If you put in garbage into ChatGPT, garbage is what you're going to get out. Now, please remember, LLMs like ChatGPT are super smart, but you have to deal with them like you would deal with an intern. They need context, they need instructions, they need format, they need everything to be told to them to the last specific detail for them to perform that task in seconds and give you the output that you're looking for. Otherwise, you know what I see people do? 99% of the people that I talk to save time writing a prompt, which is a horrible strategy. Spend your time writing the prompt. The prompt is exactly the language that AI understands. The better it is, the better the output is going to be. AI is going to perform that tasks in 6 to 10 seconds, regardless of the quality of your prompt. But if your prompt is bad, you're going to spend the next 30 minutes trying to fix what it did wrong. If you spend 10 minutes, 10 good minutes into a prompt, or 15 or 20, it will still do that task in 10 seconds and save you time. Spend time in prompting, because this is how ChatGPT thinks. Now, let me give you practical examples. Imagine you're a corporate or contractual lawyer and you're drafting a minority protection clause for a contract. You've been asked to draft one, or your company is drafting one, a minority protection clause in a contract, in an investment contract. This is what I call a horrible prompt. And this is how the majority of people do it. Draft a minority protection clause in a shareholder agreement. This is the exact equivalent of saying, go to this cabinet, do that, and bring me this. There's no context, there's no understanding, there's no format, there's nothing. Now, if we move on to a slightly better example of a prompt, this would be it. How many of you would agree that this is a better prompt than the last one? Yeah? Yes? Now, some would agree, some would disagree. Personally, I disagree. This is not a really good prompt. It's better than the last one. How many of you would say this is a good one? Okay. Allow me to tell you why I think this is a really good prompt, but there's still something missing. I'm going to break this prompt into different things to tell you. This is, of course, honestly, this was the space that I had on the screen. I would have, if I was actually doing this, my prompt would have been probably a page long. That's how I interact with technology, right? And it always gives me the results that I want because I put in all of these components. Forget the prompt, listen to the components. One, context. Who are you? And what are you doing? And who are you doing this for? We are drafting a shareholders agreement. This is who we are. This is what our client is. This is the link to their company, etc., etc., etc. Context. Next, role. All large language models by design have a standard role. But by design, all large language models, ChatGPT, Claude, Mistral, DeepSeek, have the ability to take on the role of whoever you define them as. If I was a marketing, let's say, if I was writing a marketing strategy paper, I would ask them to assume the role of a leading marketing expert who has advised the world's best startups on their marketing strategy. Role is important because ChatGPT will then understand the amount of nuance that it has to add. So context, role, then outcome. What is it that you want from ChatGPT? I want you to draft a clause protecting minority rights. Great. Outcome. And this is usually what we do, is that we just focus on the outcome. We forget the context. We don't assign a role to that chat. Then every single one of us in this room, in this digital room today, all 554 of us have produced work which we think is our best. I might have drafted a minority clause or a clause in a contract which is really, really good, right? I would upload that as well. I would upload that sample. Why would I upload that sample? Because artificial intelligence needs to learn my language, my formatting, so that it can reply based on my sort of how I get my work done. So upload your best work. AI will do it better. But uploading is important. If you're dealing with the law, upload that law. If you have a draft, upload that draft. And finally, there's something that we call a format. A format is, so you give it, you don't just say draft me a clause. You tell it how many words that you want it in, how many alternatives. Now, finally, and this is something very few people do, ask me any questions that you need for more information before creating the clauses. This is where the magic happens. I'm now going to demonstrate to you. We have around 30 minutes remaining. I'm going to demonstrate the power of this question to you. Now, please let me know if you guys can see my screen, which is the chat GPT. I'm going to log into a normal chat now. I'm going to go into a new chat. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to open 3 different versions of this. Okay. So first I'm going to do it here. Draft me a minority protection clause for an investment. All programs, all LLMs are designed to always give you an answer. That is their natural behavior. So I gave it very little context, horrible prompt. It still devised a clause for me. This is of no use to me, perhaps, because this does not have my context. This doesn't have this. This doesn't have that. Now, imagine using the same prompt, even if it's a bad one. Look at what I'm going to do differently. And I want you to look at the quality of the output in order to know why this works better. I'm going to go to new chat. I'm going to put in exactly the same prompt that I've copied from my last chat. But here's what I'm going to do differently. Pay attention because this is very important. Ask me any and all questions for more clarity before you draft the clause. That's it. All I have to do is put in this question. You know what's going to happen? You know, I told you the natural behavior of ChatGPT is always to give you an answer. This is the natural behavior of Gemini, of Claude, of Mistral, of DeepSeek. All LLMs have this natural behavior. Prompting is like coding. Prompt is when you can change the behavior of AI or an LLM. Ask me any and all questions for more clarity before you draft a clause. As soon as I press this, it is not going to give me an answer. You know what it's going to do? It's going to give me a list of questions that it needs answers from me in order to develop context, in order to answer better. And I, as a good user of ChatGPT, as an effective prompter, will give answers to all of these questions. For example, 1, governing law, Pakistan. You keep on pressing shift and you press enter and you go into the next row. Type of agreement, this is, let's say, a shareholders agreement. Okay, next question. Company type, this is let's say it's a private limited company. Next, 4. Where is the company incorporated? It's incorporated in Islamabad. Who are the parties? Founders only. And you keep on going and going and going and going. How many questions did it ask me? It asked me around 30 different questions, right? For brevity of time, because I'm just demoing this to you, if I was actually doing this task, I would answer all sorts. And look at how nuanced the questions are. It is asking for minority holder details. It's asking for what minority protection means. It's given me a menu to choose from. Anti-dilution and future fundraising, dividend and cash flow projections, control and governance. These are things I might not have even thought of when I was writing this prompt or doing this task. But just because I asked it to ask me questions before drafting something, look at the nuanced kind of questions. Now, I'm going to, for brevity of time, don't do this actually, but assume answers to all other questions. In actuality, I would have answered all of them. Now let me draft this. And I'm going to open both versions to you side by side. There's this version where it talks about the definition of minority, reserved rights, etc. It's still ongoing, it's still ongoing, it's still ongoing. Compare it with this. No definition, straight into the clause, and what, 4 or 5 sections, bare minimum written, no context, right? Now compare it to this one, the one with the questions. Definition, reserved matters include what? Transfer control, material, etc., 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 debt related, board shareholder meeting protections, preemptive rights, information, tag along rights, good faith, optional, and then it talks about optional add-ons. Which do you think is better? You can answer on the chat. Yeah. The more questions you ask it, the more, when you ask it to ask you questions, it is going to give you a list of questions. The more time you, so basically what I'm trying to have you understand from this particular section of this webinar, do not save your time on writing a horrible prompt. Spend your time in writing as detailed of a prompt as you possibly can. The longer your prompt, the more time you put in your prompt, the less time you will have to spend fixing what AI gives you. And this will truly start to act as your companion. Now, quickly moving to the summary of this, right? So, context, role, outcome, sample, format, and finally, magic question. Magic question is, ask me any questions before drafting this. It will give you a list of questions. It could be 10 questions, 40 questions, 50 questions. If you think it did not ask you enough questions, ask it again to ask you questions. And when you answer them, the product will be more or less exactly what you needed. But follow this as well. Now, let's come to hallucinations. There are how many, and I'm sure I don't even need to ask this question because every single person has gone through this, right? We ask for case references and it gives us the wrong questions. There are reasons why this happens. One, remember I told you that AI is trained on massive amounts of data. This training is a very expensive activity. There are companies that specialize, that harvest this data, scrape it from the internet, make it into machine readable formats, and then companies like OpenAI train their data on them. It's not, it takes millions of dollars to train an LLM, right? Now, it might be, so companies don't do this every day. They do this maybe 5 or 6 times a year. Data might be missing because the training has not been updated. It might also be missing because your jurisdiction does not have good digital data. We suffer this in Pakistan every single day. You go to our district court's website, you go to our Supreme Court website, you go to our High Court's website, you will rarely find updated cases of updated, good scanned versions of reported judgments. So if they don't exist on the internet, how is AI going to be trained on them? So that's the first reason. The second is your prompt is unclear. The third is that the language model has been trained on incorrect patterns, and companies are still trying to figure this out, which is why the 100% results on generic chats can never be guaranteed. So what can you do, right? The first thing is always verify with real sources. Remember, I told you, I am a big believer in machine-human collaboration. Strategy, design, big systems thinking is ideally done by human brains. Execution is done by machines. But once that execution is done, you have to verify the output, especially if you're in the legal field, if you're in the medical space. These are two professions where there is absolutely no excuse for negligence and just accepting the outcome that a machine gives you. Your time is going to be saved. You won't be spending a lot of time on execution or money on execution because AI will do this for you. Spend your time on strategizing, spend your time on quality assurance. Finally, and then another strategy that you can do is to, in your prompt, right, always cite the sources that you're taking this case from. If it can't cite a source, that means it's fake, right? The other thing that you can do is that you might have noticed on ChatGPT, you have this feature called web search. Web search is like running a Google search through the internet. So if you ever want a case cited, and if it's a recent case or an old case, click on web search and then put in your draft. It will then search the web for an online version or a link to that judgment. But the most effective way to reduce hallucinations is to build your own co-pilots, your own legal assistants, like the one I showed you, the one I use. In technical language, that is called a retrieval augmented generative model. It's called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Here's what RAG is. Imagine that all of this space is chat GPT's or LLM's own knowledge on what it on which it is trained, right? This language might, my apologies, this language might, this particular training or this data might not have, sorry, my apologies. Yeah. So this data of chat GPT might not include the cases from your jurisdiction, might include cases of a similar jurisdiction, might not have those cases altogether, right? When you go on a general chat GPT query, it goes to its overall huge hundreds and terabytes of knowledge bases, and it tries to search for that data you're asking for. If it comes, if it gets the data, it gives it to you. If it doesn't get the data, it hallucinates, because they're designed to always give you an answer. But when you build what is called an RAG, a retrieval augmented generative model, you put limits on this knowledge. You tell it, listen, this is the knowledge base that I am giving you. It can include the entire constitution, all of the laws, case laws, references, how the justice system works, how to argue well as a lawyer, your company's drafts, your company's laws that apply to you, etc., etc., etc. And then you system instruct it. And this is something that I teach. I teach you how to collect your own knowledge base, how to build your own knowledge base, how to put in system instructions. And then you tell it, listen, you never go here. You always remain here, because this is the knowledge that I've built for you. Any answer that you give me, any draft that you base, has to come from this knowledge here. Only if you have found it here can you supplement the knowledge with what you have in your own knowledge base. When you do that, hallucinations go down by 99%, as you saw in the demonstrations that I did for you using my own Copilot. Now, how to build this is something a little technical. It can't possibly be covered in a 2.5-hour webinar, which is why we are going to be partnering with EELS to be doing this workshop in person, which is going to be a 6 to 7 hour long workshop, hopefully in the second last week of March. Now, these are some of the things that you have to ensure when you're working with AI. And this is specifically true for lawyers. In order to deal with hallucinations, you have to put in a structure. Ask AI to cite, build your own models, use closed models, right? Now, confidentiality. Whether you're using your own model or the world's most secure system, but you're using artificial intelligence, please, and I cannot repeat this enough, do not use or upload anything which might have unique identifiers to a particular person or company. I have consulted a company, an access to justice non-government organization that used to work with women who had been subjected to domestic violence and sexual violence. When I built systems for them, I built them to ensure that they were encrypted and confidential. But when I was training their team, I told them never upload an Excel file where either the name or the national identity card number or the address or the phone number of a victim is available. Anonymize everything. Instead of names, go A, B, A, C, whatever you want to do. Delete the columns of C and IC, the national identity card and the phone numbers. You don't need them for your analysis. So never upload unique identifiers. If you're uploading drafts, remove the names of the companies. Keep it XYZ. Keep it blank. Unique identifiers should never be put in artificial intelligence. So I train on AI, but and this is something I'm telling you, the technology, anything, it's as safe as Google, your Google workspace. Anybody can hack it. Anybody can identify your data, right? Do not put unique identifiers for sensitive cases up on any AI platform. And finally, over-dependence. If you over-depend on artificial intelligence, it is going to become a crutch, and you're never going to be able to walk without it. Use it as a guide, not a crutch. Remember, a good lawyer, an AI-enabled lawyer, will offload 80 to 90% of execution, but retain at least 80 to 90% of strategization, strategy formulation, design thinking, analysis, as well as quality assurance to himself. Use AI as you would use a really, really strong legal associate or an intern. Do not use it for tasks that are reserved for high-level senior experts. Design the strategy yourself. I'm not saying AI will not be able to do it. I'm saying rely on your own intellect to design the strategy. Now, coming to the last bit of the seminar, I've already shown you the tools. I'm going to show you why AI is important, and I want you to start thinking about this from a slightly different perspective. I'm showing you my numbers, Pakistan's numbers. There's 2.4 million cases pending in courts across the country. This number does not include tribunals, by the way. This is just courts. And this is up until 2024, right? The total number of judges in Pakistan, mind you, a population of 250 million people, is 3,500 judges. We have in Pakistan 13 judges per 1 million people. These judges resolved 1.6 million cases. Despite this, in 2024, our pendency went up because new cases are coming in. And according to our official Supreme Court data, it takes 15 years on average for a civil case. So I am living in a country where the judicial system structurally seems to be broken because we've inherited a colonial system. We've never designed this based on our needs, right? But where there are problems, there are opportunities, and AI is expanding those opportunities. And I want, for those of you who are a little tech savvy or entrepreneurial among you, to give you a list of ideas. Legal research delays as a problem. Create an AI-powered search and summarization platform. Case tracking is a problem. Talk to your courts and talk to them about automating the dockets. Contract overload, offload it to the tools or create tools of your own to offload it to different platforms. And finally, you have an access to justice problem where people do not have legal awareness. Create WhatsApp embedded AI agents that are able to, through voice, provide legal guidance to people. I just showed you Google NotebookLM. Google NotebookLM, you could put in any single law and create a video out of it in your local language and circulate it on WhatsApp groups. Something as simple and free as that could create legal awareness, right? So what I'm trying to give you in this last section is ideas on how you can use this technology if you're more entrepreneurial in nature. And here I want to show you another platform in which I am a partner. This is Pakistan's own legal research assistant called AI Attorney. AI Attorney is trained on 200,000 machine-readable scanned judgments since 1947 that we procured from the courts and trained this model on. So if you go into the library, it contains 200,000 judgments, 200,000 judgments. If I chat here, what are murder judgments from Supreme Court in 2024? When I type this in, this is not ChatGPT. Remember, this is a much more expanded version of what I taught you to build, what I showed you, which was my legal assistant, which was built on ChatGPT. This is an entire app built on 200,000 reported judgments scanned. So when I enter what are some of the murder judgments from 2024, it doesn't go to ChatGPT. It goes to the knowledge base that I have given it, and it takes a bit longer because it goes through actual judgments and scanned files, and it generates an answer which looks a little bit like this. So I'll show you another chat here. Let's say yeah, there we go. Are there any Pakistani case laws which support X, Y, and Z? It will give me its answer. It will give me the exact judgment. It will give me, and then if I want where an officer has been given to look, I can keep on chatting with it, and it'll keep on giving me exact and precise judgment that I can click on and go and verify them. In addition to this, I can go and upload any contract that I want to edit, that I want AI to edit for me, and it'll upload that contract. In addition to this, it has 1,700 drafts of any document that you might want to create in your legal career: settlement agreement, loan agreement, vendor, etc., application, petition. Let's say I want to draft a guardianship application. I click on it. I can edit this here like I would in Microsoft Word, or I can just put in a mediation clause as per the Islamabad Mediation Act 2017, and it will automatically do it for me. In addition to this, on this tool, I have my own case library. I can look at what cases are, for example, scheduled for, let's say, the 23rd of January. I can add a case, upload all relevant documents, save it, and it will save that case for me. And then I can view the cause list of every single court in my country. For example, this is the Supreme Court. I can go to the Supreme Court and I can look at the entire cause list for today and tomorrow. This is a tool that we created. And this tool, by the way, costs around $14 a month to operate. And it has been created for lawyers in Pakistan, whether they're students practicing lawyers or law firms. And we are going to be, approaching EELS for this as well. If a similar tool has to be developed for Kenya or the larger East African legal community, whether it's Tanzania or Kenya or whatever other members you have in EELS, we would be happy to assist and partner in order to create something that's low cost and create something that can serve you as your own dedicated AI research platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking for a very long time and my throat now has begun to hurt, but hopefully all of you and the majority of you have stayed since the beginning of the seminar to now, and I am very honored and humbled by your presence. Thank you very much for attending, but the floor is now open to questions. For those of you who have questions, please put them in the chat and I will try to respond. Any institutional question, I will leave it up to Gabriel. If there's any technical question, I would love to answer it here. But once again, for those of you who are just leaving, we are going to be conducting an in-person masterclass in which we teach you everything that we've taught you now, plus advanced concepts in person in Nairobi in the second last week of March, and EELS will get in touch with all of you to register for that masterclass. But for those of you who are leaving, thank you very much. And for those of you who are still here, please ask any questions that you might have.
Wow, thank you so much, Shaza. That's been mind-blowing, I tell you. Mind-blowing, my friend. But there are quite a couple of questions. Some of them you have already addressed. And one question that I have seen is, does Lovable also create portfolios, or is there a separate site for that? Increasingly, international organizations want portfolios in addition to CV testimonials and the usual.
Lovable can create presentations, portfolios, anything that you want. But if you are creating portfolios, my advice to you would be to use a combination of Canva and to create a combination and to use a combination of Google NotebookLM. Just to show you very quickly and demonstrate this, and my apologies for going back to the laptop, but my own company's presentation, the corporate presentation that we have, was created on Google NotebookLM. So here's what I did. I went to Google NotebookLM and I created an entire, so this was my corporate profile in PDF. So this was a 60-page PDF that I had drafted, and this had, sections upon sections. And all I did was that I clicked on slide deck. And when I clicked on slide deck, this is what was generated. And I want you to look at the quality of this. So if I had even if I had spent a week designing something as nuanced as this, I would not have been able to get the format this good. And this was generated within 15 minutes. So this is sort of like a portfolio for my company. This is the corporate presentation that I actually use. And it has all of my details and everything. So if you are creating a portfolio, my advice would be to go to ChatGPT, create everything. In terms of the main PDF document, the corporate profile, just text-based. And if you want to design it, you bring it to Google NotebookLM and create a slideshow.
Yeah, thank you, Shaza. There's another question that I think you addressed about hallucinations. I think that you well addressed that. Will the presentation be available? There's too much information. We may not retain all. We can organize and share that presentation. And also we've been streaming live on YouTube, so you'll visit our YouTube channel, East Africa Law Society, but we'll also share a recording with you at the end of the session.
Yeah, and Gabriel, what I'll do is that I'll create a condensed presentation around 6 to 7 slides with the prompt framework, with how AI works. And I'll send that to you, and you please feel free to email, WhatsApp, disseminate it to all of the EELS members and participants today.
Great. Okay. There's another question. How do you create your own assistant? I think that will be addressed at the physical training session in March. So you should attend that, Bonnie. There's a question here. And this attendee, anonymous attendee, is asking, would there be an intellectual property right infringement by curating legal assistance, or are their rights waived once one pays the subscription fee of, say, ChatGPT?
So if you pay the subscription of ChatGPT, so IP rights are actually dependent on the data that you're using. If you're using data which has been trademarked, you might get into trouble. But most legal assistants are actually built on publicly available knowledge. So it's the constitution, it's the laws, it's precedents, and that's the tough part. The prompting of it is actually where the IP element can come in. But then again, if you create a legal assistant and I create the legal assistants whose purpose is the same, then it's very difficult to IP a prompt. So if you're using a knowledge base which has all publicly available material, then there's no problems with IP.
Great. And then there's another question. Kindly comment on instances where AI has been reported to infringe on copyright, on the copyright unique to humans, for instance, photographs and voices. I think this one is asking about deepfakes.
Yeah. So you see, what's happening is AI is using any and all information on the internet to develop its responses. And if you generally just go and chat or type, it usually doesn't cite. Only if you click web search will it cite a particular source, right? So people are raising all sorts of IP concerns. Some of them have won cases. Most of them have actually lost the cases because they're using publicly available information. But here's the thing, right? Now you see a changing trend. You see actors who are getting their voices and their faces IP'd, and they're working with AI tools such as 11 Labs that generates voices to actually, on a royalty base, lend their voice to AI platforms to generate, so that people can generate, let's say, content in Morgan Freeman's voice. So there's a trend that's coming. I personally feel that if you've created something that's IP'd, there is a potential for you to monetize it now in the age of AI better than you could otherwise, if you follow the right sort of pathway to it, reach out to the companies, etc., etc. However, the area is very, very murky right now. Artists, poets, creators, content creators are really on edge right now. So I don't have a definitive answer to this at this point in time. But if you're to the extent of legal assistance, as long as you're using publicly available information, you're good to go.
Okay. Another interesting question here. For academic writing, how do you then use that information generated to humanize or rather remove the AI-ness in it?
So let me give you a couple of facts, right?
Yeah.
No software in the world right now can decipher between, if something was differentiate between an AI written content and a human written content. If you, for example, there's all sorts of softwares against plagiarism. People claim to have developed softwares that can tell if this was written by AI, but you see, there's a lot of writers in the world that actually do use a lot of M dashes when they write, right? So the way that you can catch if something sounds AI is when you literally read it and you're like, this sounds a little AI-ish. There's a lot of M dashes, there's particular words, but there's no software technology in the world. Now, what is happening on the academic front is that because I deliver these lectures in universities as well in Pakistan, right? You cannot stop a student from using ChatGPT. You absolutely cannot. What universities are now working on is how do you change examination methods so that you can actually understand if one, children are learning the knowledge that we're giving them, and two, if even if they're using ChatGPT, what is the thought process? So LUMS, for example, one of the finest law schools in Pakistan, now in their take-home assignments, they've written, we know that you are going to use artificial intelligence, but we want you to copy and paste the prompts here that you used step by step so that we can understand your thought process. So a lot of these universities are converting, are shifting from open-ended take-home examinations to in-person, let's say, vivas or in-person exams. So I think the education or the academia in particular has to really rethink what they're testing and how they're testing. Because if it's just about sources of knowledge, AI can actually be a lot more vaster in terms of the source of knowledge than a university or a college. And I think it would be a disservice to tell students not to use it. And it would be a disservice to teachers not to teach students how to use AI responsibly.
All right, thank you. There's another interesting one here, and this is in particular to Enablify AI, and an attendee is asking, what are the costs for subscription to Enablify AI? Monthly, annually? Can it be used by other professionals? So, yeah.
Good question. So again, we don't have a product. We build custom solutions. So we're working with banks, we're working with law firms, we're working with hospitals to develop AI solutions that they're embedding in their departments, and we train people. So all of the tools that I showed you, we own none of these tools except for the AI attorney that I showed you right towards the end. We've built that in partnership with another tech company. And the cost to that is around $14, but there's no use of you that you would have of that particular platform because it's tailor-made for lawyers in Pakistan based on legal knowledge from Pakistan, right? We can absolutely partner with EELS or anybody who's interested to develop something like that for Kenya. But every single other tools that I showed you, they're all owned by OpenAI or Google or Lovable. They're all on the internet. All you have to do is go to their website and subscribe. The average subscription cost ranges between $20 a month to $25, which I think, now that you know what they're capable of doing, is an investment that you should be making.
Wow, great. And I see one more here, and Charity is asking, considering that we use the same laws, what are the chances that different legal systems will not create or reproduce the same work if asked similar questions?
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's the problem with ChatGPT, right? And all of the LLMs. Most post-colonial, formerly colonized countries have very similar laws. So if we were a British colony and you were a British colony, chances are that the laws and the civil procedure code, even some of the sections might be the same. So, which is why the emphasis is there to create your own indigenous legal tools. Like we created one for Pakistan called the AI Attorney, right? Kenya could create one for its own jurisdiction. Uganda could create one for its own jurisdiction. Tanzania could do it for its own jurisdiction. The answer lies in creating indigenous tools where you lock in the knowledge of your jurisdiction behind that AI model. So it doesn't go to Pakistan or it doesn't go to the US. That's the easiest and the most short way to do this.
Great. Okay, so in the chat section, there is a question here. Are there generic AI farm management systems on the market?
Generic AI firm management systems. You know what I would suggest that you do? I'm sure there are. But why don't you sit with, if I was a law firm founder operating out of any of the East African countries, you know what I would do? Now that I know that Lovable can do this, I would, gather my young law associates in a room and I'd be like, listen, guys, I have a project for you. Here's a tool in which you can create websites, entire applications, softwares, whatever you want to do. I'm giving you, 6 months to use Lovable as much as you can. Here's a subscription funded for by the firm. Prompt your way into creating and publishing a tailor-made CRM or case management system or CMS for our firm. And you see these young boys and girls outperform any software engineer you've seen. You know why? Because they know exactly what your law firm does, what its realities are, who the people are. So instead of going for a third-party AI vendor that might have created this, why don't you use Lovable and create your own? I think that would be the best thing that you can do.
And then James here is asking, he says he has a client in Pakistan. Can he use the AI? Yeah, would it work for him?
What a lovely, extremely rare use case. So James, I am going to be giving the link of AI Attorney to Gabriel. He's going to send it to all of you. Please explore the platform. There's a free version as well. And I will also give you the email of the AI Attorney team so that you can get in touch with them. So they will
Right.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And
How many questions here?
yeah, towards
Sorry,
the end,
proceed.
I had one more request from everybody that's still here. If you liked the session today, because you see, the problem is, even awareness workshops such as the one you've just attended free of cost, in courtesy of the East Africa Law Society, they're all hidden behind paywalls. Knowledge on AI is guarded by paywalls, right? Even a simple webinar such as this one. If you liked or drew value from this today, I urge you to please go on LinkedIn and talk about this. Tag the East Africa Law Society, tag my company as well, Enablify, so that word gets out that webinars such as this are being done in countries that aren't just belonging to the Europe and the northern hemisphere. There's a lot of work happening on the global south on AI and tech adoption.
Wow, great. And okay, I think this should be the last one now. Which is the most suitable AI application to use for legal scholars in terms of programs to assist outputs in general, based on the fact that these programs may vary? I think this is,
yeah, I'm writing down the name of this. Everybody has seen Suits will be able to recognize the word Harvey. Harvey, Harvey, Harvey is one of the world's most valuable AI companies, AI native companies in the world. The problem with Harvey is that they're very expensive. They cost around $200 to $300 per license, basic license per month. So, which is why not a lot of companies subscribe to this, but every single Fortune 500 company that I know of is subscribing to Harvey for its legal function. The capabilities are insane. They've built it on GPT. The base layer or the foundational model is ChatGPT, which everybody's using. But they've prompt engineered and layered it so well that you can do any task imaginable in law on Harvey. AI Attorney that I showed you for Pakistan is Pakistan's version of Harvey. So it's just for one jurisdiction. It can do document analysis, contract drafting, etc., but it's just for us. But for the question, if you want the best one available on the market for jurisdictions, it's Harvey.
Great. Thank you so much, Shaza, and thank you, friends, for that very interesting, mind-blowing session. And for me, 5 truths have stood out from today, and that is the fact that AI is powerful. It's powerful. But again, it's not a lawyer. So again, prompting is quite important. 2, verification is not optional. It is your ethical shield. And the third one for me would be prompting is a professional skill, not a technical flair. So you need to learn more about prompting. And of course, the tool of choice must be defensible. I love the fact that many have been asking so much about the tools of choice. And of course, lastly, the fact that East Africa has the opportunity not just to adopt AI, but to lead responsibly. And from me and the entire team at the Secretariat, Shaza, we are really, really, really appreciative and grateful for this very wonderful, insightful session. In my country, Uganda, we say "webale nnyo, webalire ddala," meaning thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We really can't repay you, but we look forward to a very insightful session, ostensibly from the 21st of March to about the 22nd or 23rd of March. So friends, again, we'll be reaching out to you regarding the session. As you've had, there have been fights online, people saying bring the session to Mombasa, Some are saying, hey, what about us in Uganda and Tanzania? So
it's funny because my
yeah.
wife and I, we're landing in Nairobi, and then we're actually going to be, after the session, we're going to be relaxing in Mombasa. So people who are in Mombasa, I would love to host you at the hotel that we're staying, and we can have like a quick round table there.
Yeah, sure. Perhaps we could plan that as well, see how we can work around.
I will just have to
because
ask my wife, Gabriel. So, please scratch that. Nothing is final. I just need to ask her before I finalize everything. Yeah.
I'm keeping all fingers crossed. But yeah, thank you so much. And friends, that really brings this webinar to a close. Thank you so much for your time, your engagement, and your commitment to professional excellence. And of course, this is not the end of today's session. It's a strong forward-looking beginning for us this year. And we look forward to hosting you again in March, hopefully Nairobi or Mombasa, either way. But yeah, we'll be happy to host you then. And please be on the lookout for more of our sessions. Please be notified that from the 2nd to 6th of February, we'll be holding a masterclass of legal administrators and persons who are interested in parliamentary affairs right here in Arusha, Tanzania. So please register for that training session if you have not. And yeah, from us to you, keep safe. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you to the entire EASE leadership for making this possible. Thank you, and bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.